Lawrence is the driver behind PH Airseal. He's a third-generation tradesman taking his father's and grandfather's path to the next level. As a general contractor based in northern New Jersey, he's focused his company for the last 5 years on using proper building science techniques and providing healthy, sustainable, and energy-efficient renovations and additions. After completing his passive house training in early 2021, he's been focused on making the industry better because he understands the pain points of a GC and the move to elevated code requirements. He's invested in aero barrier technology and created PH Airseal. And I'm about to hand it off to a video and then to Lawrence.
PH Airseal brings you aero barrier in 60 seconds. Starting out, we cover and seal all functional openings. We then disperse spray stations throughout the home. At this point, we'll install a blower door, allowing us an initial air leakage reading and starting point. The spray stations then link to our computer module and start to spray. Our sealant is non-toxic and sustainable. The blower door creates pressure in the home, allowing the sealant to travel wherever the home has gaps, cracks, or holes. It then fills all penetrations, such as attic, electrical, rim joists, and plumbing. We're able to watch the air leakage number drop in real time. Once we hit the target seal number, the home is certified with a 30-year warranty. We clean up and are done. In most cases, start to finish in 4 hours.
All right, thanks, Zach. Appreciate everybody joining today. So we can start the slides. As mentioned, I am Lawrence Lindner. Recently started PH Airseal, investing into the aero barrier technology. Next slide. Just to give you a little bit about myself, this is my second career. Started off as a chef, third generation tradesman, as Zach mentioned. My father was a union painter, grandfather was an architect. I feel through the culinary scene, sustainability was a big focus, and that is something that was kind of a deep driver into that I wanted to continue with into construction, and that's where being passive certified kind of came in. Next slide. So through seeing the industry trends and rising code, learning about passive house and LEED and well AP, we're seeing that air sealing is a huge component in all of these buildings, and it makes a massive difference. And a lot of it is labor based and having to rely on our labor hitting these critical points, whether it is a mechanical adhered WRB or chemical adhered or liquid applied. We need to make sure that the labor is producing the quality to hit, to achieve the blower door test that we're after. So seeing that, and after seeing aero barrier at International Build Show, it was a no-brainer. Next slide. Next slide. So in short, for those that are not familiar with what air sealing does for us, it provides comfort. It's the comfort that you can't see. We're not doing anything pretty. It's not a glorified process, but it's something that you feel, and something that clearly makes the home more energy efficient. Next slide. So our focus and what we're looking to do is we're looking to partner up with architects, developers, general contractors, anybody within the trades that can utilize us on a multi-family level as much as possible. We will do single family homes as well, but we are set up to be able to provide service to multiple units, multiple doors at one time. Next slide. We're able to do that with our system that you can see here. So we have a splitter system that allows us to take one blower fan and turn it into servicing 2 doors, 2 units at one time. So as you look at this photo, you're going to see on the bottom left a blue and black box, and that is our main control unit. It's our MCU. And so that is reading reading each blower door. That's reading the internal pressure of the unit, and it's sending that back to our computer. And what we do in short is we pressurize each door with 100 pascals. So that's around 30 miles an hour. And at that time, once we start to spray our sealant, that sealant then goes to wherever there is air leakage in the home. Now that center photo is our sealing station, and that is hooked up to pressurized air. And in the center of that is a jug full of sealant. And then between the air and the sealant being pushed out at the same time, it then is aerosolized and is able to basically create a mist or a fog and kind of float within the unit. So we have 100 pascals, 30 miles an hour being forced into each unit. And then we have this fog, and wherever it is leaking air, we're able to seal. And so we're able to seal up to 1/2 inch. Anything over 1/2 inch, we're doing prep work on. We are doing spray foam to make sure that it gets pre-sealed. And then our sealant is able to fill in the cracks of the spray foam. We want to, as much as possible, try not to utilize spray foam. We would love to have the trades before us and the general contractor to be able to have a tight control on that, but easier said than done. So from here, utilizing 2 systems, we're able to spray 4 doors at one time. This allows us maximum efficiency within the multifamily unit. If, say, you have a building, a high rise that has hundreds of units, if the developer, general contractor is able to give us 1 floor, we're able to get in and out very quickly and guarantee the numbers and give you a report of your air leakage at that time. Next slide. So here's an example of a project upstate New York. This is about 18,000 serviceable square foot. I think we have 16 doors here. Just to give you an example of how efficient we're able to get in and out, each of the green slashes are entry doors to the individual apartments. And so what we're able to do is we're able to go in with 2 of our units that have the splitter, and each unit, each of our serviceable units are able to spray 2 doors at once, and then essentially do 8 doors per day to be able to, again, maximize schedule for the builder. So in a typical working day, 8-9 hours, we're able to go in with 4 guys, 2 units, and we are able to prep, spray, and break down a large amount of square footage. Now, this is done, this is only able to be done after drywall, after gypcrete is in. It doesn't need to be painted, doesn't need to be primed. If the schedule works out to where you want to get us in after drywall is done and prime is done, then that's fine. Either way, it works out well for us. Next slide. So this is an example of the certificate that you will get at the end of a spring. And this is just done, this is a project that we're doing that we serviced on Monday. And so our initial air leakage, as you can see towards the top left, was a 6.72, which is decent. We like to be able to have builders get us in there under 8. After 8, we spend additional time, which is additional material. So if you can get us in, or you can get the building under an HCH 50, that is good for everybody. So this service took us 38 minutes start to finish, and we were able to get a 63% reduction, taking you down to basically a 2.5. So we were just spraying to hit code. New York State, we're at a 3. And so what we like to do is give you a little bit of buffer. And also this unit was 98% finished with drywall. So we didn't mind the seams and the cracks that we did have, because we knew that our sealant would be able to fill those cracks. So in a very short amount of time, we're able to get you down to code, do 2 of the doors at the same time, and then move on to the next floor, or to the next units. Now, if you compare that to traditional air sealing methods of running around with a caulk gun, you're not doing that in 38 minutes, realistically, or to this level to be able to guarantee it. Next slide. So kind of piggybacking on what I just mentioned, comparing us to traditional air sealing, it's running around with caulk guns and making sure that you hit every outlet box, or every switch box, all the hi-hats, etc. It's tough. It's tough to be able to lean on those subs to be able to hit it the first time. And then you have to bring somebody in to do a blower door test, and then have the subs come back to fill in whatever gaps that may have been missed, or when the sealant dried, it opened up new holes that created new air leakage. So, with what we do, we have those guaranteed results. We are computer driven. So as we are servicing the unit, we're able every 60 seconds to see how far our air leakage is going down and dropping. We're able to stop it at any point. We're able to continue to go further if you want us to. Our tooling is phenomenally made. AeroBarrier has done a phenomenal job with this. It's very thoughtful. It's intuitive. It's easy to maintain, fix, and get, on the fly. If something was to happen, we're able to fix the units. They have phenomenal tech support as well that is available to us at all times. So it's not like you're just getting PH Airseal as, we're the servicer, but we also have kind of a big brother behind us that helps us, really service the community properly. So what we're additionally utilizing is we're making the tooling more mobile for the multifamily sector, to where we're putting everything on wheels. We're able to get in and out of these big buildings, the elevators, going over bumps, much easier. It's less stress on our guys. We're not as tired at the end of the day, to where, we're showing up happy, smiling every day to be able to do something that's honestly pretty cool. Speaking of our sealant is, as you see, Green Guard Gold certified. It is a water-based sealant. It is non-toxic, no VOCs. It is mostly water. They don't give us the exact recipe, but it is 50 to 70% water, silicone, has alcohol in it. It is if I was to compare it to anything, it is very comparable in short, clearly, like Elmer's glue. Like when I stick my finger into a bucket of the sealant and I pull it out and I blow on it a little bit, it has a high, you feel the tack very quickly. It's almost like the Elmer's glue from grade school when you get it on your finger and you can kind of peel off your fingerprint. It's very near to that. So we're able to wash it off easily, and it's safe. So essentially we're spraying a sealant that is going to be around the whole apartment or the whole home at all times. It's going to be heating, going to be cooling, but it's not giving off any chemical. There's no chemical reaction within the sealant itself, which I think is huge. Because, you know, with everything that we're using, with the products that we're using today, we don't know what's in them, and we don't know the off-gassing that we're going to get, or some of us do know the off-gassing that we're going to get from it, but nonetheless, we have a safe sealant that we're able to piggyback on, and it's something as a tradesperson genuinely means a lot to me. Next slide. So the best times of service for new construction, you want to get us in after drywall is 100% complete, after you are taped and spackled, and before the finished floor. So if you're just doing a traditional subfloor, a wooden subfloor, say in a single family home, then just get the subfloor done in, get the drywall done, and then at that point you can get us in. So what that does is that allows us to not have to protect the home as much as, say, a finished unit. Our sealant, when it's aerosolized, it will not stick to vertical walls. It will not stick to the ceiling. The only thing it sticks to is the air penetrations, or the penetrations of the home that's allowing the air leakage, and it'll stick to horizontal surfaces. So we are covering, or we are protecting windowsills and areas as such, to make sure that the sealant doesn't land on that and dry. Now, with the floor, with the subfloor, the sealant will land on it, but it is literally a microfilm of when it dries. It's not a buildup. You don't step on it and stick to it like a mouse trap. It is very, very thin. And that was something, you know, before investing in this, I kind of gave AeroBarrier, put them through the ringer myself, because I wanted to make sure that I'm investing in something that I could really get behind and be able to sell wholeheartedly. And I had the same questions that I think some of you are going to be asking of me, is, you know, what is that buildup and how safe is it, and all of these additional items. It's bulletproof, and it's astonishing. It's almost like magic. So you know, getting us in after, again, just to kind of reiterate, getting us in after drywall before finished floor is the most economical and going to be the quickest. As far as renovations goes, that is something that we need to have a conversation with the contractor. We don't want to spray just a addition, as we can have points of vapor kind of building up where the new and the old is. So we want to be able to spray the whole home to make sure the whole home is sealed, compared to just one addition compared to the old home itself. And if you have an existing home that you're looking to create better efficiency or be healthier, then we are able to do that. It takes more prep work. We have far more that we need to protect, like cabinets and countertop and bathroom vanities, bathtubs. All of that needs to be protected. So it definitely takes more time. There's more money involved. It can be done. It's best if you're not living in the unit. So if you just purchased something, that would be the time to get us in. Next slide. So always a question is how much? And these are very, very kind of basic expectations, just to, you know, again, just to build an expectation and get you thinking. For new construction, what you can expect is around $1.25 a square foot. Now, this is very dependent on the initial air leakage. This is dependent on location, and the square footage in general. For existing construction, that we have to protect everything to make sure that they're you know, we're properly liable, and nothing is getting the sealant on it. You're around $3 a square foot. again, it's dependent on where we're starting with our initial ACH 50 or CFM and what you want to take it down to. So if we're starting, say, an old home, old existing home, and we're starting at a 12 and you want to take it down to a 2, we're going to be there a while. So that takes more time, more material, which we have to pass that on as a business. Next slide. So that's it. Interested in all the questions that are out there. And I feel I flew through that way quicker than expected. So interested to see what you guys have to think.
Well, thank you, Lawrence. That was fantastic, and the Q&A has been on fire. So we
Right.
we have a good discussion coming up here. So let's get started. I think the first one is Beth Campbell. Beth, it's great to have you here. Please unmute yourself and ask away.
Hi, Zach. And
Hey.
I don't mean to take up too much time with this type question because it's not really the focus of this passive house level air tightness question, but I would like to know a little bit about the applications for existing homes that are very leaky. Like I own an 1865 duplex and would love to help with energy at the home. So just thoughts on doing air barrier in, finished spaces.
Yeah, so definitely doable, and the process in general is completely applicable to what you have, and is probably the best solution towards air tightness. So you say a duplex, that is on top and
Side by side.
Side by side. Okay. So yes, we can do that. The only type of issue that is potential is the party wall and the air leakage that would come between the two units.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're pressurizing it, which means it can go to the other unit.
Mm-hmm.
And with it being from the 1800s, chances are it will go to the other unit.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do in that situation is we have air scrubbers.
Mm-hmm.
We have very powerful air scrubbers. So if you have a good relationship with the neighbor, we're able to say hello to them, maybe bring them coffee. We set up air scrubbers in their unit to make sure that we're capturing any potential sealant that would be coming through.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, we're servicing your unit, and we're going to be able to see when kind of that party wall gets filled, if it is leaking through there. We're going to be able to see that drop, because what happens is the buildup starts, and then once the buildup really starts to gain momentum, then we start dropping, and we see that ACH or CFM go with it, and at that point we just take it down to whatever you're most comfortable with. We're always able to advise on what we would do in this situation. So additionally, with units like this, if we're taking you down to a, under a 3, at that point, we're going to advise on integrating an ERV, just to make sure you have proper ventilation in the unit. You don't want to seal it tight without
Mm-hmm.
being ventilated. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and I heard you say that it's best if the ACH is 8 or under for you guys to come in. So in this type of situation, there might need to be some preliminary work to get it down to an 8.
So that's in reference to kind of cost and time. We can come in at any time. You can be at a 20, but mm-hmm. at that point, if we do the initial blower door and we're hitting a 20, then we're stopping. We're going to do another walk around, and we're going to figure out where those main failures are, and we're going to try to do some prescriptive filling at that point.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Beth. Next up is Kit Kohlmeyer.
Yeah, I think you partially answered already just organically through your talk, but we do a lot of CLT projects where the interior finish is the cross-laminated timber. And I know that, so there's typically no exterior sheathing on the outside of the timber, and there is an air sealing layer, whatever that is, self-adhesive or liquid applied, whatever it is. But we can get leaks in those panel breaks, and that would be the interior finish that would be visible. So when this material, whatever exactly it is, fills those cracks, would it be leaving a residue on the interior finish of the panel at that joint?
Yeah, great question. So what will happen is the sealant itself will build up, it will fill that crack, and you will see, however big that seam is, you will see a little bit of white. You'll see a seam, you'll see a white seam at that point. Now, if there is any additional buildup, say the wood itself is frayed a little bit and the sealant has stuck to that fray, you're able to rub that off. It crumbles when it is on a surface. So you're able to rub that off, but yes, you're going to see kind of a milky color in sorts, filling that seam. I don't know how we really get around that one. I understand that, visuals are important, but, if you're trying to take it down to a passive number, then, you're going to have to fill it with something. And if you do it by hand, then there's more of a chance of not getting to the number that you want, or it's going to take longer.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Great. Thanks, Kit. John Jensen, you're up next.
Hi, folks. So thanks very much. I've been a fan of Airseal and Aero Barrier for a while. Given that we're, shooting for, so it seems like in the multifamily space, which is where I live or do most of my professional work, you're talking about how to tackle the compartmentalization issue. Is that correct?
Well, yes. So in where are you located?
I live in Philadelphia. Projects are Boston to Northern Virginia to Pittsburgh, kind of triangle like that.
Okay, so we're basically in that area. We're all trying to hit a 3 ACH 50 by code, right? Is that where
so most of my projects are under the IBC, so they're like a little taller than that.
Okay.
Where there's a prescriptive requirement but not a testing requirement, and
okay.
Most of them are seeking Passive House, LEED, Energy Star, all of which have 0.3 CFM 50 per square foot of enclosure area as a compartmentalization threshold.
Yep.
And the process that you outlined seems rock solid, totally bulletproof way to achieve that.
That's right.
And that, and I think to some clients that could be attractive. What makes so many clients so nervous, and where I think you could be very successful, is if you could help them with their whole building air barrier, as in coming in before drywall, around the time when we do, what we call a rough full building blower door test for Passive House. What would we need to change about our process to make you successful in that endeavor?
Yeah, so we're able to come in before drywall. Absolutely, we're able to come in before you're running plumbing and mechanicals, etc. But the issue with that is additional penetrations. We need to make sure that the envelope is not getting any penetrations after we spray. And if you do, as the developer, GC, etc., you just have to really manage those penetrations, right? As long as we don't have any chases or any leakage that is going from floor to floor, then we're able to come in and spray before that, in hitting that kind of initial building envelope. Once we get into, say, ductwork chases or floor to floor leakage, we simply have to cover those to make sure that we're able to service the area. But then that has a liability on your end to making sure that whenever you do cover those chases or the floor to floor penetrations, that it's wholly covered with whatever could leak through. Does that make sense?
I mean, I understand where you're coming from. You're basically saying you've got more nozzles than anybody else, but you don't have enough to do all the floors at once.
So if you, yeah, we can't, like, it depends on how big the building is, right? Like if you're doing,
Say 4-story, 50 unit, wood frame on a podium or not?
okay,
Like,
so 50 units, say, so a 50,000 square foot, let's just call it,
yep,
maybe it's 70,000. At that point, I have to reach out to maybe get additional units to be able to spray it all at one time.
okay,
I don't have at this time my maximum capability from 2 units. We have not had this come up, so that's something that we're definitely able to figure out within a couple of hours, on how we're able to spray a whole building as such.
great. Yeah, I think that's a source of a lot more anxiety than the compartmentalization, which is a source of anxiety, but it's been around longer and we've done it a lot of times. But
Yeah.
the whole building blower door test is what scares a lot of folks away from passive house, and I'm trying to make sure that they go through with it. So thanks for your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks. Great question. Thanks for being here. Rob Hoskin. Hey, Rob.
Hey, my question is kind of a follow-on, turns out, from John's question. And it's a little bit more technical. And just as an anecdote, we do blower door testing as well. And I've had clients say in a public event that Rob needs to become an aero barrier installer. But my question is kind of about whole building testing and in commercial settings, and maybe consider a building that's not gigantic, and it's about the reporting capabilities of the software. Can it produce data that can be plugged into a commercial envelope air leakage test report like ASTM E779, or would you have to run separate software to get that data?
Yeah, right now, as kind of previously mentioned, I don't have that information, but if I'm able to get both of your information, I'm able to reach back out to understand kind of what our capabilities are on that for whole building. Right now, our biggest driver are kind of the multifamily after it's constructed, but if we have a big enough demand, I don't see why the company would not start driving more towards that. So yeah, I would say let's exchange information, and I can get that back over to you and get some answers for sure.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
Thanks, Rob. All right, next up, we have Dan Hayden.
Hey, everybody. This is great, really impressive, wonderful. Can't imagine why this hasn't been done before, long ago, but here we are. This is great. My question is, so rehab, yes, you do. That's fine. That's great. And the timing is tricky, has got to be considered more carefully, all that. Great. My question is, I do mostly multifamily. I live in New Jersey, but I'm currently working on a rehab of a library in Queens for DDC, Department of Design and Construction. And they want everything to be just incredible and amazing and phenomenal, net zero for free, and everything, just pile it on. And a cooling center for the neighborhood, and you just pile it on, and it ain't going to happen. But what's amazing to me is that I've been passive house for 12 years, and I'm the only one talking about this kind of stuff, not even the mechanical engineer, even though DDC is, pushing fairly hard. So my question is this: how much trouble are you willing to get into? It's not multifamily, it's just a small library. But are you willing to? Is there somebody, either you or somebody else, that would be willing to engage a little bit with them and see how far we can go? It should be a no-brainer, but lots of things should be no-brainers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate the question. So just to be clear, we are based out of North Jersey, servicing NYC tri-state area. We're able to service nationwide on a larger level. With that said, we're able to do single family or a small library. And we're able to take it down to wherever you need to. And so, yeah, let's have that conversation. Let's try to get it in there and make your life a little easier, and get you serviced and happy.
Awesome. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Dan. So next up is Bijan Posravyani. Hopefully I got close there.
Yes.
Thanks for being
close
here.
Enough. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. That's
Thank you,
charitable.
And thank you, Lawrence, for your good presentation. So I was just wondering, in that multifamily unit that you were showing, how many units a day did you complete, or on average? On average.
So it depends on square footage and it depends on layout, but we can do between, say, 16 and 20, depending on square footage. So
16 to 20 units per day?
Sure. Yeah. It
You
just
have done it?
say that again. Yeah. It just
You have done it?
yes.
Oh, nice.
It depends on you being able to have the whole floor or building, ready for us. And if so, we're able to bring in extra labor to help with the prep work. And then again, that is very dependent on our initial ACH, our initial air leakage. So if we have a high air leakage and you want to go to a low air leakage, that may not be, we may not be able to hit those numbers, right? But if we're starting out in the 6 range and you're going down to a 2, chances are we're going to be able to hit those numbers that we're just speaking of. Yes.
So were you doing prep work? Well, prep work the day before, or you were doing it on the same day?
We can do it same day. Sometimes we do it day before. It's very dependent project to project.
That's impressive if you have done that. Yeah, I mean, just disclaimer, I mean, we do ABS air barrier sealing. Also, we are based in Boston.
Yeah.
But we did 180 units, 7-story building last year here. But we could just do a couple of days only. We had a 10 at most. But this is impressive. You were able to do it.
Are you using 2 units with splitters?
We had 2 units. Yeah.
With splitters?
No, not splitters, but we had 2 different older type. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have splitters, then at that point you've doubled your capabilities.
Well, we were doing both at the same time, but they were separate. But maybe splitter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Great, thank you.
Impressive.
So I think next up is John, but John Jensen, I think your second question was answered already. If you have another one, let us know. We can work you in. So next up is Robert Ha.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Lawrence, for this presentation. I think my answer or my question has already been answered by you. I was just concerned about the chemical constituency of the filler material, what it actually is, and unless you have like a whole bunch of extra details, beyond what you've already said, I think you've answered it.
Yeah, it's not. There's 4 ingredients in there, and the main 2 are, water and silicone is basically kind of what it is. So it's safe. I eat only organic. I'm very health conscious, and when building, I'm the same exact way. So this is genuinely something that you can get behind as far as that formula.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Robert. The next question from Shane. Shane, you're here. Good. Good. It looks like maybe it's been partly answered, but please follow up.
Yeah. So thank you for the presentation. Also kick the tires and really like the technology. But I think in follow on to John's question, I'm a developer more interested in the air seal of the exterior wall. And my understanding of the technology is it's a relatively indiscriminate sealant, right? It will seal the narrowest hole first. And so when you're sealing after drywall, I guess the concern is that we're sealing at the drywall level, while I would really like to be ensuring a seal at the exterior sheathing level. And so it followed on John's conversation to say, can't there be, like, why does it need to be after drywall? Can't we accomplish even the compromise position might be a pre-rock if we have a very large building in our case that you might not be able to pressurize the entire building or don't have enough equipment to disperse the material, could we pre-rock for example, the hall pre-rock a common, the common party walls,
Yeah.
and then seal with just to the sheathing of the outside. Of course, penetrations need to be in, windows need to be in, so there's timing and coordination. But is that something you've done to make sure that the seal is maybe at a better spot?
That's something that we can do. That's not something that we have done just yet. But as we're having these conversations more, that's something that we're able to focus on. So we're definitely able to seal at that point that you had just mentioned.
Okay.
It is just most efficient number wise. And I understand what you're going for as far as performance, the air not literally getting through the exterior penetrations. So number wise, we like to be able to come in after rock, but we are able to seal before rock. Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Great. Thanks, Jane. Thanks for being here. Okay, so the next question.
Can I add just one thing, or actually more of a question? I'm not sure if this is true or not, but we like actually to do it post plaster, as Lawrence mentioned, especially for multifamily units. And because we feel that if in our case, well, we are in zone 5 Northeast, our issue is we don't want moisture get from inside conditioned space to the wall assembly. So we feel if we do it post plaster, in fact, would be safer. Plus the fact that if there is let's say there's a hole on the exterior sheething, we feel if that's a problem, the air barrier is going to find it. That pressure is going to find it. The fog is going to find it and seal it. If it goes through, at least at the beginning, if it's a big hole. But if it's not, then maybe it's not an issue. And usually on the passive house project, etc., we do good weatherization from outside. So I don't know. That's my thoughts. But
but just to be clear, aero barrier will not necessarily find an exterior penetration if it's achieved a seal already at an interior penetration.
Correct.
It's an indiscriminate sealant. So if you have an exterior hole of, I don't want to get too geeky, but if you have an exterior hole that's 2 inches and the seal at the drywall was an 1/8, it's going to seal it at the 1/8. It'll never finish the seal at the 2.
That's not necessarily, and we're splitting hairs here in a way, but that's not necessarily correct, because we're pressurizing to a point that it'll fill the small hairline cracks, yes, but then it's still at an 1/8. It's still traveling very hard and fast to wherever that 2-inch hole is on the exterior. So
how would it seal it if it's achieved the seal? If it's achieved the seal at the drywall, how is the material getting to the 2-inch hole?
Because there's multiple penetrations within the interior drywall, right? So it's coming from multiple locations, multiple directions. But we also cannot seal a 2-inch hole. So that needs to be taken care of on the exterior.
All right, are we set?
Just one other thing. I think if, as Lawrence mentioned, if there is a bigger hole on the exterior sheathing, there will be enough. Well, first of all, air always finds the least resistive path to get to outside. And then if you have enough flow, then it doesn't have time to first seal the smaller resistance. First, always go the easiest path. So it tries to fill up the bigger flow before it gets the small. But anyway, we haven't done analysis. I guess we have to make experimental design and find out what is actually happening. So that's my guess would be.
All right, thank you. So next up is Stephen Dahlgren. Looks like you're here, Stephen. Can you unmute yourself? If not, I can.
Yeah,
ask.
hi,
okay,
sorry.
Great. No worries.
Yeah, just wondering if you can get down to 0.6, like I know you're talking about some retrofits and things, but on new how confident are you on a given hypothetical project that you could get to, you know, the full best standard for ACH?
100% confident. I think the tightest aerial barrier has gotten down to is a 0.19.
Okay, great. Yeah, that
Right.
answers my question. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Steven.
Thanks, Steven. Okay, next up, Laura Blau. Hey, Laura. Laura, are you on mute?
Yeah, I don't really have a question. We used
Oh, okay.
this, we helped train people on it, and we had a great experience with getting our 170-year-old passive house apartment done. We had a second try at some upper floors, but the air leaks were larger than a half inch. And so what we did is invade the neighbors with a lot of smoke of the mist. It was not a good experience, and it was unfortunate. So if you're in a party wall condition, you need to inform your neighbors and be prepared for issues there. So you know, take care.
Yeah, well, like with the first question that we had, that's where we go ahead and set up air scrubbers, and depending on the size of the unit, we're able to control that pretty well. So did they use air scrubbers? I'm assuming not. Okay.
No, because this is the first time that they were doing this at all. So everyone was on a learning curve.
Got it. Okay. So now we have more information through the years of failures as such, and successes. So yeah, we're equipped with multiple air scrubbers that are very powerful. So they're able to suck in that additional sealant that has gone through the party wall and really control it. Now, can I say it's 100% controlled? No, because that's a lot of liability that I'm putting on myself, but it is controlled in an extremely manageable way. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Okay, sorry, I was responding to Derek. Derek, we're happy to ask your question and get some rest. So next up is Paul Carr.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Lawrence. You kind of answered this question, but when you're describing the consistency of the material, you kind of described it like Elmer's glue, and it just made me wonder, since it's water-based, over time, do you ever see any degradation of the material due to humidity conditions or anything like that?
Yeah, so it's Elmer's glue in the fact of how sticky it is. The viscosity is far thinner. As far as the product itself, they've gone through the extreme 50-year tests, and they're putting a 30-year warranty on it. And I'm able to go ahead and kind of transfer that over as well. So, you know, with the testing that we're doing now, it's kind of, it's better than, you know, what we've done before. And we have a lot of information, and they've really put this through the ringer. So I feel confident that we're able to, you know, keep these units sealed for that full 30 years. The other thing as well is within 30 years, at some point, there's probably going to be a renovation, which then kind of takes, you know, you have to take that into consideration on where those penetrations are and make sure that you're following up on air sealing at that point as well.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. All right. Next up is Michael Constantine. Did you want to do a follow-up question about the scrubbers?
Yeah, I didn't quite get the answer. If it was answered, I apologize for that.
No, I think you're looking for a little bit more detail on what they are, right?
Yeah, what the heck is a scrubber?
Yeah, right,
Yes.
right.
No problem. Thanks, Michael. So it is just it's a big HEPA filter, basically. It's just a very large, very powerful HEPA filter. And we're able to suck in a large amount of air, filter it through some high MERV rated filters, and then blow it back out clean. That's it, just circulation.
So in the case of that tandem house, when you're in the neighbor's unit, you're trying to suck up any air that might be leaking into that unit, I guess.
That's right. Yeah, we're trying to control it. So creating that kind of negative pressure, if you will, through the air scrubbers and controlling it rather than just kind of letting it do its thing, we're able to get a large amount of that carryover.
Great. I had a second question. I'll jump in if you don't mind. Is it possible to convince Aeroseal to produce a black product?
I don't have that answer. That's something I can reach out to them. I can get I can get questions answered rather quickly. So as far as dyeing or producing another color, yeah, we can get that figured out. I would say let's exchange information, and I'll get you some answers.
It's a follow-up to the participant who was dealing with this cross-laminated finish panels.
Yeah.
He was concerned with seeing it in the joints, and I thought, well, if it's black, it's a lot more elegant.
Sure, understood. Yeah, that's something that I would have to inquire about. I don't have that right now at the moment.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Michael.
Awesome. Next up, John Snell.
Sorry, I had to unmute my microphone.
No
I had a question about evaporation. I assume one seals with, well, the traditional construction uses Tyvek on the exterior for an envelope. I assume one would apply the aero barrier first and then put the Tyvek, or these days for passive house, the water barrier, moisture barrier, air barrier on the outside. After aero barrier is applied inside a new construction, how will moisture inside the roof joists and the plywood roof deck dry to the outside? How does it evaporate when it can't evaporate to the outside? Well, dry to the inside. It can't dry to the outside because of the moisture barrier sealing the envelope outside. And if aero barrier is applied inside, I'm concerned about rot and mold growing inside the wood, the plywood decking and the roof joists. Can you address these issues?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of it has to do with your wall assembly, and clearly that should be architecturally driven when you're dealing with high performance homes. If we're sealing down to a certain point, you got to have mechanical ventilation, whether it is a ERV, HRV, but it's highly advised to have that. Now, additionally, depending on how the architect has spec'd it, if you're going to have a interior air barrier before utilizing our product, whether that is a Siga or a Intello or Proclima, something of that sorts, which those are a one-way membrane that do dry to the outside. So it is very dependent on the wall assembly, and that is a question that is more so driven towards the architect, in my opinion. But we are sealing to take it down to whatever ACH, whatever CFM that you would like. But once you get so tight, you got to have mechanical ventilation.
Yes, I understand the need for an HRV or URV. I mean, just long-term for passive house, it's just part of the design.
Right.
The envelope I'm thinking is not going to be permeable on the outside of the house. That envelope would be the absolute the point at which evaporation occurs, either upward through exterior insulation through roofing or downward on the other side of the envelope. And so any evaporation that comes downward from the roof decking and from roof joists would have to go through, well, I guess I should back up. Is aero barrier, things like spray foam, there's open cell and closed cell, and the open cell can evaporate. I don't know if air barrier has anything like open cell, or if that even applies. Or
No. And when it dries, it's drying rather quickly. So there's no, and it's flexible. It is like a silicone of sorts. I mean, it has silica in it. But I think a lot of what you're speaking of, in my opinion, is based on the wall assembly, and it depends on where that WRB, or it depends on the type of WRB and the type of insulation and into where things are drying or the direction that they are drying. So not I don't know if that's 100% applicable to what we are doing.
Well, I guess the other side of this is, does aero barrier even stick to the roof joist or the plywood decking? Does it air seal up at the roof level, or would that even work there?
Yeah, so if we're doing it, if you are just sheathed and you have your WRB, you have your windows in, you have your exterior penetrations flashed, and you're finished at that point, then we are able to spray, and then we are filling any penetrations. But it's going to be the same exact way as if you're using a tape or a liquid applied product on the exterior. It's going to be the same exact thing. We're just doing it from the interior. We're finding all of the misses, if you will. So will it land on the joist? Yes, it'll land on the horizontal surface of the joist as it's going across, but it doesn't stick to anything else except a horizontal surface.
Oh, thank you.
And the penetration.
Oh. Of course, these penetrations are going up vertically. I'm thinking of using the aero barrier before the external envelope is sealed.
You want to have your WRB, whether it's self-adhered or Tyvek. Tyvek, you need much more love, more attention to detail. But if you can use a self-adhered, I don't want to, I guess, promote any other products, but a high-level self-adhered, high-performance WRB is going to be your best bet typically.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, John. Next up is Sai Safi. Hey, Sai, how's it going, man? You still here, Sai? I see you. I just don't hear you. I'll wait another moment. Sai. Okay. This is more of a like a testimonial sort of. We are the aero barrier dealer in Cincinnati, Ohio, and surrounding areas. Sai says Midwest and South is slow to catch on, but the results are phenomenal, and it has been great to offer on our builds. All right, so thanks, Sai. Next up is Luke. See, Luke is not here. Kevin Connors is here. Kevin, you're up.
This is a quick one. I just wondered what size project it would take to get you to do something in Buffalo, New York.
I mean, do you have an example of what you have?
Well, we're working on a 52 unit senior housing project.
Yeah, let's talk. 52 units gets us to Buffalo, depending on the square footage. If not, we're able to reach out to our other dealers as well and make sure that you have coverage. But nonetheless, no unit, no project is getting turned down.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. So now we have a question from Derek Calburn, who's actually based in China, so he had to go to sleep. So he asked us to ask this question on his behalf. He asks, is there any ignition risk during the vapor phase? Also, with the way the Cat5 wires have an air gap inside the outer sheath, what would the sealant look like at the wires?
Yeah, that's great. So no ignition risk. And as far as filling the wires need to be able to have air leakage. So typically what we're seeing in kind of Romex and these internal wires is we don't have any air flowing through it. So if we did have any, for whatever reason, I feel that the first maybe half inch of the tip of that wire would or could get filled. But chances are it's not being pressurized. There's no air leakage, no air flowing through it for that sealant to go into it. So there would be no risk.
Great, thank you. Yeah. Next is Martina Eng. Hey, Martina. I think you're here. If you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself. If not, I'll ask it.
Yeah,
the question.
hi. I'm
Hi.
just a homeowner, and I just
Yeah.
have a simple question. How long does this air barrier seal last for? Is it permanent, or does it last for so many years?
Yeah, so we're tested up to 50 years, and we're guaranteeing for 30 years.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Martina. Thanks for coming. Okay, Corey Cliff, you have a question.
Hi. Yeah, I was just curious if you could describe how the when you're prepping a space, if you have the windows in place and if you have operable windows, how you're sealing up the operable sash of the window and any sort of crank mechanism, but not, if there happen to be leaks around the rough opening.
Yeah.
It seems like that would be a critical thing and may take some time, per window.
Yep, that's right. And it does. So depending on the window, it depends on the type of protection that we do. If we have your typical over-unders, we are protecting the sash. We are protecting any type of air leakage that would happen. That way we're not ruining the window. And we do that with a simple tape that is wide. And we just put that right over the top, and it tapes it down. And then once it's pressurized, nothing is getting in there at that point.
Okay.
Now, what I do like to do with passive windows is we just need to tape the horizontal surfaces, and a lot of our passive windows are phenomenal, and we don't have that air leakage. And I've tested some of them and was very excited to see the results.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Corey. Well, Lawrence, we just made it through the questions. That was awesome. Thank you very much. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap it up here?
No, I think ultimately just we don't need to worry about, in reference to being able to utilize PH Airseal, you don't need to worry about the size of the project, and if you have enough square footage for us, just reach out, and if we're not able to make it to you personally, then we are definitely able to get somebody to you. We have a large band of suppliers that we're able to utilize as well. So yeah, any questions, feel free to reach out. We're always available. I may not have it instantly, but if not, we're definitely able to get them answered in a quick amount of time.
Great. Thanks, Lawrence. And for everybody, we have Lawrence's contact information here in the chat. So please copy that and reach out when you're ready. A big thank you to everybody for joining us today for this special component spotlight, and a big thank you to Lawrence for a great presentation and Q&A session, and also thank you to PH Airseal for your support of Passive House Accelerator. It means a lot to us. So with that, I think we're wrapped up. Everybody have a great Thursday, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks,
Zach. Take care.